training that went behind this massive great Chieftain tank. This was the era of the Cold War. We thought we might be fighting the Russian army. We knew the Russians had hundreds and hundreds of tanks. We were never going to match them tank for tank. So we decided to go for a super heavy, massively armoured, huge firepower in the gun here tank with a Chieftain. And when it came into service at the end of the 1960s, by far the best tank in the world at the time. It's an enormously powerful gun on that tank. It's what they call a 120mm high velocity gun. So what does that mean? 120mm is the size of the hole at the end of the barrel. So 12 centimetres across, 120mm. High velocity means the rounds come out of that gun with a tremendous amount of force behind them. And when this tank was firing another tank, it didn't fire a bullet-shaped round like we used to see coming out of guns. It would actually fire a piston out the end of the gun. And when that piston left at the end of the barrel, it was actually travelling. It's one of the fastest things on Earth at supersonic speed. The size of the piston would fall away and it would reveal a 13-inch metal dart heading off towards the enemy tank. A bit like a dart you'll throw at a dartboard, little fins on the back to keep it stable in flight. And that metal dart was made of either depleted uranium, which is a waste product from the nuclear industry, very dense, heavy metal, or tungsten. And tungsten's twice the weight of steel. So it's a tremendously hard bit of metal it's firing, with just huge amount of force behind it, what they call kinetic energy. And if you fire that piece of metal with that amount of force, it will simply smash its way through the enemy tank, quite often all the way through and out the other side. And it leaves one hell of a mess behind it. Doesn't explode because there's no explosives on it, but it might cause fires in the enemy tank. Now this gun, they got it so accurate, at one point they were firing 98 times out of 100, they could hit a target 3 kilometres away with the very first round. And that, in World War II, you tended to fire one round over, one round under, and then the third round was about on the target with the tank. This thing, if it's pointing at you, it's going to get you, you're a goner. It is that accurate, tremendously powerful gun. Now, very thick armour protection on the Chieftain. The tank weighed over 60 tonnes, and when the Russians got a bigger gun on their tanks, we added more armour plates onto ours. So if you look at the turret on the Chieftain, if you compare it to earlier ones, it's got some extra bits bolted on the front, almost like cheek pieces, either side of the gun there. That was called silver armour, so we added extra armour if we thought they got bigger guns to take us on. Now inside this tank there's a crew of 4, drivers down the front, he's almost lying on his in the back. So you've got a massively powerful gun, a very well protected tank. Unfortunately the engine, this is the era of British Leyland. This was a Leyland L60 engine. Unfortunately it didn't work very well. It was supposed to be multi-fuel, wasn't a particularly good engine. So when other countries bought the tank, they insisted on a new engine. Now, what we'll do, a tank to fire, we have to do this, we have to stop and aim its gun, and then move off. What it couldn't do is what a Chieftain or this generation tank can do. This tank can lock its gun onto a target, and it doesn't matter where the hull's driving, the gun will remain locked on the target. And again, very important, because if you can fire accurately on the move, it means the enemy are going to have it much harder trying to aim their guns at you if you're moving around the place. So again, a tremendously important feature of the Chieftain, and this is true now of most modern tanks, is you can fire on the move a much harder target you are to hit for the enemy. Now the Chieftain went out of service with the British Army in the early 1990s. We had a tank called Challenger 1, you can see that in the museum, and we're now got a tank called Challenger 2 in service, and that's in the museum as well, so you can see the differences. One of the exercises achieves 72 hours on the trot. Now if you can imagine that with your family or maybe 4 friends upgrades you've got here today, locking yourself in the smallest room of your house at home. And that means 72 hours, eating, sleeping, drinking, all your bodily functions in full view of each other. You can understand why a tank crew's got to get on with each other in that confined space. There is nowhere inside a tank you can have an argument and go storming off to your bedroom. Very important discipline, and that you get on. There's no secrets, I can tell you, between tank crew. So, what do we see? We had to build a new tank. They decided to go for a fast tank, so they went for speed and thought that speed would be better than armour protection. So you can hear that something great MTU diesel in the back there, and the idea was that that engine was so powerful it could speed you around the battlefield so fast that the enemy wouldn't have a chance to try and knock you out. That was the theory behind it. But this leopard tank was a great success in the German army, and they sold it all around the world. Lots of countries got it. Obviously this time it's in Mauritanian hands here. Now, look like they found them out at last. The gun on the tank, by the way, was made in Britain. This was a 105mm. It was a British gun. And it's creeping forward, radioing back the information back to the main force commander. The other thing, of course, they can do, having radios, they can call down artillery fire onto the, or air fire, onto the main infantry. Keep their heads down. Now, don't forget, in reality, a reconnaissance vehicle, if he ever got this close, something's gone badly wrong somewhere, he'd be about a mile away down in the woods somewhere, and hopefully the enemy wouldn't even see him coming up there. But the important thing is, he's not only getting back information about how many enemies to attack, but also things like what's the best way forward. As I said, modern main battle tank weigh over 70 tons. There's no point in driving straight up the middle of the road across the bridge and the bridge collapses. So they need all that information before they go forward. And there we go, they've got the message back. Here comes our Chieftain tank to put on fire onto the Mauritanians. And there's our 432 with the infantry in the back. And however many tanks, however many modern jets we have these days, it's still the infantry that are going to do the business on the battlefield. Very, very important, as the military calls boots on the ground. And they, of course, are our volunteers in the back of the armoured personnel carrier. Now, because that vehicle could be bouncing around on the battlefield for the last hour or so, the soldiers in the back, they're given a helping hand because they can be very disorientated by the vehicle pointing to where the enemy are. And those of you who can see it, here comes our volunteers, they're jumping out the back of the vehicle, and they're working their way forward to put in that final attack on the Mauritanian positions. And they're doing this in what they call a pepper pot attack. In other words, one section runs forward at a time, it drops down, then the other section comes forward and drops down. And they try and keep in straight lines. And the idea there is not that they're going to just run straight lines, it's to stop one of you getting in front of your mate and getting accidentally shot up the backside. The media calls that friendly fire. It's the most unfriendly fire going if you're hit by your own side. So very important, they've got the target in their sights as they're coming forward under instructions from the section commander as they work their way forward, keeping spaced out. We don't want one person machine gun fire knocking the whole of them out there. And they've seen the Mauritanian, they've seen the tank, they're charging, putting in their last charge there. Pathetic. Look at that. Mauritanians are thrown in the towel already. Well done, our volunteers. Well done. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it takes about 6 weeks for the British Army to do what they call Phase 1 basic training, which is the infantry training every soldier has to go through. Our volunteers here managed to do that in going through their training in about 20 minutes, so they have actually done very well. And they didn't honestly let them know what they were letting themselves in for, so when we gave them the helmet gun, they were a little bit surprised, I think, a bit earlier on. So give them a round of applause when they get up, and they've done very well.